Hello everybody, I'm LLCoolBrap and welcome to Prompted, the official podcast for the writing prompt section of reddit.com, where you are prompted to write stories. And here, we showcase the best of them, all with the goal of helping each other to become better writers. Hello listeners and welcome to episode 14 of Prompted. I'm LLCoolBrap and I shall be your host for today's themed episode. I settled on our theme because of seeing two of the recent Theme Thursdays, Pirates and Norse mythology. So I decided to go down the middle and go with those lovely Norse pirates, the Vikings. We have 4 lovely stories for you today, so strap on your Viking helmets and join us on a glorious journey to Valhalla. The first story is going to be narrated by Giglomesh. The prompt was written by MPS Dragline, and the prompt response was written by Cimmeril Melnibone. This prompt is a bit of a mouthful, so bear with me for a moment. Valhalla is filled with the strongest warriors the world has ever known. Vikings, Spartans, Mongols, Romans, Samurai, Spetsnaz, JSOC operators, and in that corner over there, that's Ted, from accounting.
One of the peculiarities about Valhalla was that time had no meaning. Warriors did not arrive in Valhalla chronologically, they arrived based on how glorious their battle prowess and their death had been. Hogdar the Huge had just arrived in Valhalla after mortally maiming 20 Englishmen and being shot through the heart by an arrow. The hall was just as vast as legend had foretold, the rafters disappearing in darkness and hazed by the thick smoke from the fire pits that lined the hall. He quickly found some of his battle brothers from previous skirmishes and roared in greeting, immediately swapping tales of his deeds leading up to his death. The hall was not at all full, he noted. Less than 2,000 warriors of various races and genders filled the benches, eating, drinking, and fighting. "I am pleased that I arrived early," he shouted to his companions. "Who would want to be the last into Valhalla? This shame would be unbearable." His friends roared with laughter and thrust a horn of mead into his hand. As Hogdar drank, his good eye roved over the assorted warriors. In one corner sat a group of strange men in green uniforms, patterned like a forest canopy. They leaned on unnatural-looking weapons and sported gaudy, meaningless tattoos. "Marines," said Halfdan, "from the future. Great warriors. Their leader was amongst the first to arrive in Valhalla." Hogdar raised a scarred eyebrow and reappraised the soldiers. Appearances could be deceiving. "Odin was here first, of course," continued Halfdan, "as he is the greatest warrior of all." Reaching for another horn, Hogdar casually asked, "Who was second?" A sudden hush descended on the vast hall, and Hogdar felt unease creep up his spine like a spider made of frost. All eyes had turned to a secluded nook, far from the smoke, noise, and heat, where a small man sat, clothed in black trousers and a neat white shirt and tie. His leather shoes were polished brightly, and a pair of spectacles perched below a receding hairline and a brow full of worry lines. "I was," said Ted, from accounting. Hogdar rose from the bench and drew his sword, still bloody with the ichor of his fallen foes. "What jest is this?" he bellowed. "Shh! Hogdar, my friend, sit down!" crooned Halfdan. "Leave the man be!" But the strong alcohol had begun to kick in, and Hogdar's blood was still hot from battle. "I will not! It is an insult to Odin, to my ancestors, and to me that this worm of a man sits amongst the greatest warriors of all time." A Mongolian horse archer in leather and fur armor stood, his steely dead eyes boring into the agitated Viking. "Northman, you sit, shut mouth." "Freya's tits I will!" Hogdar shot back, brandishing his weapon, foam spraying from his lips. "You insult Ted," the stocky archer said flatly. Aye, that I do. And what are you going to do about it, you slit-eyed horse lover? Hogdard didn't even see Ted move. All he was aware of was that suddenly he couldn't feel the rest of his body, and the ground was rapidly approaching. He stared up into the thin, pinched features and blue stubble of Ted's annoyed face. The small man pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose and retrieved something from Hogdard's neck. Ted wiped off his titanium pocket pen with a bloody handkerchief and regarded the paralyzed Viking. Didn't anyone ever tell you that the pen is mightier than the sword?
I think I'm going to go ahead and stay away from Ted from accounting. I hear he's somewhat of a minor celebrity around these parts, so don't be surprised if he doesn't turn up in some more stories along the way. Moving on to our next story. This one was written by Tinsonman. The prompt, "A young Viking captain leads his crew to their final stand," was posted by SoccerFan. Over to you, Katie.
I stand above a sea of faces and watch 100 pairs of eyes follow me expectantly. I look down and study my crew. The warriors and shield maidens, the old and young, the large and small, each one set with the same look of grim determination, all waiting for me to lead them. My brothers and sisters, how long have we fought together? How many battles have you chosen me to lead you to victory? How many times have we sailed off our coast to plunder the riches of foreign lands together, and returned home, our pockets heavy with treasure, and our hearts light with joy? I tell you now, this will not be one of those times. I looked into the multitude of fighters, of hardy men and women who define bravery, warriors who love as ferociously as they battle, hands that wield weapons to water the earth with blood, and then return home to play with their children and caress the ones they live for, the ones they will fight and die for. I witness them hang on to my every word and know what I say will resonate deep within them. What we fight for today is greater than all the riches in the world. Crash! Axes pound against shields. We fight today for those who cannot. Crash! Today we will spill blood for a cause worthy of Odin himself. Crash. These men think to take our home for their own. They think to take our lives and our families and parade them as trophies for their king. Crash. They outnumber us 5-1. Their weapons of war overpower ours, and they are prepared for a lengthy siege. We will not give it to them. The warriors bashed their shields and roared in unison. The sound carried over the water, breaking the stillness with ripples and planting seeds of fear in the guts of our enemy. We will drive them out of our land and ride them to Valhalla, with our hands wrapped around their throats and our daggers through their hearts. Crash. We will march into Asgard together as heroes. Our families will sing songs about us over their mead forever. Crash. Men will stand where I stand now and tell our story to give them strength. Crash. We will live forever on every drop of blood on our children's sword. Our names will be heard in every cry of victory our descendants bellow. Crash. Now let us go forward and forge our legend. I ran forward with the roars of my crew propelling me further and further ahead. Our cries could be heard across the land as birds took flight from their trees and the animals scattered. I drew my sword from its scabbard with a yell, and we went forward to carve our names into history.
I guess I'm next up. This prompt response was written by MetalFan. The prompt was posted by Now Give Me Link and was titled, "When everyone turns 25 years old, they are assigned a demon or an angel based on karma. You, however, are assigned a Valkyrie."
So, my 25th birthday happened yesterday, and it shocked the hell out of me. Come to think of it, it shocked the heaven out of me too. On my friend Tracy's 25th, she was blowing out her birthday candles in her mum's dining room when a blinding white light appeared above her, and a winged figure descended. The angel looked like a standard Christian stereotype: pristine white robes, Caucasian, blonde hair, and white feathered wings that betrayed not a single defect, perfect in every way. She said her name was Inafiel, and that she would be her guide until the end of her days. Knowing how religious Tracy was, she carried a Bible around in her backpack during college. This made her inordinately happy. My buddy Chris also received an angel, but he was kind of bummed out about that. Unusual, because while Chris was always a good guy with a strong moral code, he didn't want to identify with any particular religion. The angel, Zariel, told him that he was destined to do even more good things, but that didn't mollify Chris's disappointment any. Most people in my circle of friends got angels, whether they wanted them or not. As for devils, I've seen one or two. I saw my first when my cousin Jax, who was a wild partier, got hers on her 25th at the Slimelight, a local nightclub. The scene was something straight out of a movie. The demon crawled its way out from a split in the floor, the smell of sulfur accompanying its blood-red muscled body, as its huge hands propelled the rest of its 7-foot-tall frame from the hole its entrance made. Unfortunately, this meant it also wrecked the dance floor at the Slimelight. The demon helped Jax escape before the owner could come down on them to recover the damage its entry made. Not to mention instituting a tight no 25th birthday celebrated here policy that was enacted shortly afterward. So, on my 25th, I was sitting in my friend's apartment getting ready to leave for a camping trip while he was at the store getting supplies for us. I was honestly afraid of which I would get, angel or devil, because I believed that this was an indictment of my character. Receiving an angel would lead people to believe I was boring, and a devil would mean that I was too evil to be around. I did not want people to see what I would get. Also, part of me hoped that nothing was damaged by its entry into this world. Seeing as how the nightclub idea was nixed thanks to Jax, I decided I would leave town for the day. There was a knock at the door as I knelt on the floor to pack my duffel bag. "Who is it?" I asked as I got up and went over to the door, keeping it closed. "Here, came the answer. "I am here for you." The speaker had a slight accent that I could not place. Moreover, I did not know anyone named Herja. "Excuse me? Would you open the door, please?" the voice asked. "I don't know anyone named Herja." "Please open the door," the voice asked politely. After listening to it, I believed the voice was A, female, and B, Scandinavian. I got the mental image of a beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Swedish woman asking for me. This was a tempting thought, but that did not mean that I would open the door for her either. I'm pretty sure that the world has at least one blonde-haired, blue-eyed, psychotic Swedish woman bent on killing people. It would suck if she happened to show up today for me. "No," I replied. "Are you sure you do not wish to open the door?" "I'm sure," I said as I went back to kneeling on the floor and continued packing. At that point, The door exploded inward. I covered my face as wood chips went flying everywhere and felt the knob whiz by my head, missing me by mere inches. I felt the sting of wood chips as they collided with my face and arms. After the door's destruction, I brought my arms down to see who the intruder was. The shock I felt gave way to fear as a tall, armoured woman holding out a two-handed sword strode into my buddy's apartment. I took a moment to study her. About 6 feet tall, leather boots, armour that looked like fish scales overlapping were on her skirt, followed by more on her torso and arms that ended in gloves. On her head was a helmet with a slight conical shape that had 2 wings protruding from it. She removed the helmet, showing a lightly tanned face, blonde hair, and blue eyes. Great, I thought. It is a homicidal Swedish woman who came to kill me. The D&D outfit was a little bit much, but then I was sure serial killers had reasons for the way they dressed too. Hell, Ed Gein had a belt made of human nipples. She sheathed her sword into a scabbard that went onto her back and approached me. I was too paralyzed with fear to move. I said my name is Hydrae, and I am here for you. Look, just take anything you want, but leave me out of it, I replied. I cannot leave you out of it. You are it. My fear turned to curiosity. What do you mean I'm it? She knelt down in front of me so we were more eye to eye. Today is your 25th birthday, yes? Yeah? And you are to receive your spiritual guide, correct? Yeah? I was going camping in the mountains with a buddy to make sure nothing got wrecked when an angel or demon showed up. We both looked at where the door used to be, and Hydrae smirked. Looks like that did not happen. Why did you destroy the door? You would not open it. That doesn't mean you had to destroy it. How else was I supposed to come in? You could have come back later? I replied lamely. Hydrae sighed. No, that will not do. I am here for you, because your day has arrived for your spiritual guide. So you're supposed to alert me when they show up? I asked. Hydrae chuckled and stood up at this. No. Why not? She offered me a hand to stand up, which I did not take. Why not? I asked again. She stood there, hand out. Because I am your spirit guide, you fool. Now take my hand and stand up. It took me a few seconds to let that register. I did a quick once-over of Hydrae again. Metal armor, leather boots, and more details underneath. Some rough woolen clothes under the armor, and the helmet that had little squiggles on it that vaguely resembled letters. Also, I had to admit, she was quite stunning. Blonde hair, blue-eyed, and with flawless skin. Add the accent to that, and I was pretty sure she was an angel, albeit a rather weird one. So, are you an angel? I asked. She laughed at this, bent over, grabbed my arm, and hoisted me up. In addition to the good looks, Hydrae was quite strong. No, I am not an angel, idiot. I am one of the Valkyria. We retrieve the fallen in battle to feast in the hall of Valhalla with Odin. Valkyria? I asked. Yes. It clicked. You're a Valkyrie! That's one word for it, but yes, I am. My confusion deepened. Why didn't I receive an angel or devil? The actions you have done up till now determine if you will get an angel or a devil. The people who strive to do good deeds or live a life with morals get angels. The other people who are utter hedonists, who live without a code, who have no thought about what their actions do to others, they receive devils. Then there are a lucky few, like you, who are never truly one or the other, who get help from spiritual sources, not tied to either good or evil, because they need more. How am I lucky? Hydrae's brow furrowed, and she gave me a stern look. You were afraid to open the door for me, yes? Yes, I was. I'll admit in retrospect I felt a little shame at that. You did not move as I walked in because you felt fear, yes? Yes? You were going to go away because you were afraid something bad would happen, correct? Also correct? You did not take my hand out of fear. Yes? I felt the shame manifest as my face grew hot and my cheeks turned red. Hydrae reached out and touched my face. See, you feel shame even now. I backed away a step. What's your point? I am here to teach you not to fear. You have feared for so long. It has clouded your ability to be brave, to act without fear. You need me, because I will show you confidence. She stepped closer until her face was inches from mine. You will lose your fear. I was stunned at this revelation and realized she was right. My actions were guided by fear of breaking something, fear of people seeing what guide I would get, and fear when Hydrae arrived. Damn it, she was right. What do I do now? I asked. You're coming with me, she said as she put on her helmet. The first thing we will do is get some lumber to repair your friend's door. Hydrae turned to go. But I don't know how to repair a door, I replied. Hydrae stopped and turned to look at me. Are you afraid to learn? Those blue eyes held me. My spirit guide was already testing me, and the lesson started now. No, I replied. Hydrae smiled and extended her hand towards the doorway, inviting me to exit the apartment with her. We left because I had confidence to regain, and a door to repair.
The final story of this episode is narrated once more by Katie. The prompt: a Valkyrie has come to usher the souls of a great warrior to Valhalla. However, she instead encounters a child, was posted by Orange Kitty. The story was written by Tasha Magoo. You might need some tissues for this one.
The call came, and she answered. Draped gracefully in her white tunic, sword strapped to her hip, armor shining with all the power contained in her form. Being a Valkyrie was no easy task, and for many millennia she had done her duty proudly. Today she arrived at the battlefield and surveyed the scene slowly. It was a massacre. There were bodies scattered, some having been covered, others not, waiting for the cleaners of war to come escort them to their own afterlife. But none of them were who she was here for. It appeared that the great warrior had been removed from the battlefield, and she walked carefully, trying to assess what had happened. Finally, she came to another town, where the echo of the warrior felt the greatest, and made her way deep into the growing crowd, watching the somber faces of the townspeople. The building they surrounded was full of people, some sobbing quietly, all waiting patiently to lay flowers on a small body resting on a large altar at the head of the room. She watched for a long moment until a child, no more than a child, turned a face matching the one still on the altar and looked into her black eyes, calmly gazing into the depths of time that braver men had winced away from. Slow steps carried her to the child's side, watching the chocolate eyes turned back to a still, dirt-smudged face. I am dead. The words barely wavered, and her heart soared with pride.
Correct. I am here to escort you.
They stood in silence for a long time before the child looked at her again. I cannot regret my death. The others, well, they were so frightened. I knew what to do. Are they all safe? Did they go home? She held her gaze for longer, and a slow smile tugged at her lips.
Tell me your name. Tell me what happened.
My name is Samara. They came to the center of town. They grabbed all of the children, pushed us all into a truck. We all cried. Some were small, so small. Paz can only just walk. We drove for so long, and I told all the children to hush. And when we arrived, I told them all to do whatever we were told, no matter how frightening. She took a deep breath and looked back at her own body, cooling slowly as flowers began to blanket her limbs. They took us to a shack and a cave. I have played there many times, but not so much now. We were pushed into the cave, and they pushed a door to cover us in, told us to keep silent. I heard them talking. They were going to make the town pay to get us back. They left us with a lantern. I know the cave, and I know there's another exit, but only for children. Adults won't fit. I told the children where and how, and I hid them there, gave them the lantern and told them to come out only when I told them to. The men came back soon, and I was too big to fit. So they beat me, and the men fought, angry because they had lost us all. They dragged me to the shack, and they threatened things, many things, and threw me against the wall. There was a weapon there, and I held still while they yelled. And they turned only for a moment, but I took the gun. More men came, and I ran out of bullets. But the men of the village had armed themselves and arrived to save us. It doesn't seem I could be saved, but I told the men where the children were. I don't remember after that. A silence washed over them, broken by the whispered murmurs of mourners around them. Many of those whispers, words of thanks from mothers.
You, Samara, you are brave, and you will come with me. We are going to a place of brave men and women like you. They will welcome you, for you will be most welcome.
A solemn nod and a small hand slipped into hers, a warm glow overtaking them both.
That about wraps it up for this Viking-themed episode. Our next episode will be featuring a new section called Flash Fiction. These will be micro-stories of around 30 to 50 words in length. Our first Flash Fiction theme will be posted on the Writing Prompts subreddit. The title will be A Relative Dies, Leaving You a Large Fortune. However, there is one very odd stipulation. We look forward to reading all manner of wonderful and wacky stipulations you can all come up with. A big thank you to all of the writers responsible for writing these lovely stories. All of the story links and authors' blogs and subreddits will be available at the official subreddit for this podcast. This can be found at www.reddit.com/r/prompted. If you liked any of the stories, please be sure to check out the rest of their work. That's all from us for this episode. Be sure to tune in 2 weeks' time for the next one. As always, good words, good writing.